It's September 28th, 2012. Fox News was covering a police chase in Phoenix, Arizona. This had become standard television practice. Helicopters following high-speed pursuits, cameras capturing every moment as police chased suspects through city streets. Viewers were used to seeing these chases end in arrests or brutal crashes. The chase began when police attempted to pull over a vehicle and the driver refused to stop. The pursuit wound through Phoenix streets and eventually onto desert roads outside the city. Fox News anchor Shepard Smith was narrating the chase live, describing what viewers were seeing from the helicopter camera. Then the vehicle stopped. The driver got out and ran into the desert. Police followed on foot, maintaining distance as they do in these situations. The helicopter camera tracked everything, broadcasting it live to viewers across the country. The chase goes on for several minutes until the man stops. Smith thought it was over for the chase and the police would arrest him peacefully. But the man reached into his clothing and pulled out a gun. Before anyone could react, before the network could cut away, he pointed the gun at his own head and pulled the trigger. The man collapsed to the ground, dead, and it had all been broadcast live on national television. Shepard Smith's reaction was immediate and visceral, terrified of what he had done.
So that if anything went horribly wrong, we'd be able to cut away from it without subjecting you to it. And we really messed up. And we're all very sorry. That didn't belong on TV.
It was too late. The damage was done. Millions of people had just watched a man die by suicide in real time. Television was supposed to be safe, a controlled medium where everything is planned, edited, and approved before it reaches our screens. For years, To Catch a Predator was one of the most popular segments on NBC's Dateline. The concept was straightforward. Working with the organization Perverted Justice, the show would set up sting operations where adults attempting to meet minors for sexual purposes would be confronted by host Chris Hansen and then arrested. The show was controversial from the start, but it was also undeniably effective television. It had high ratings, public support, and seemed to be serving a legitimate purpose by helping law enforcement catch predators. Louis Conrad was an assistant district attorney in Texas. In November 2006, To Catch a Predator was conducting a sting operation in Murphy, Texas. Conrad had been communicating online with someone he believed was a 13-year-old boy named Luke, but it was actually a decoy. Unlike other predators on the show, Conrad never showed up at the sting house. The production team made a decision that they'll soon regret. They went to him. At 12:30 a.m. on November 5th, Chris Hansen asked police for the favor of securing arrest and search warrants for Conrad, saying, "If he won't come to us, we'll go to him." Chief Billy Myrick rushed both warrants, foregoing any interagency coordination. By 8:30 a.m., Hansen and his Dateline crew arrived at Conrad's home in Terrell, trespassing on his property. A camera crew waited in the street as police knocked on Conrad's door. There was no answer. The SWAT team forced their way inside. When they finally encountered Conrad in a hallway, he was holding a Browning .380 handgun. His last words were, "I'm not going to hurt anybody." He was airlifted to a Dallas hospital where he died shortly after. Audio and body cam footage captured the gunshot, though it has never been publicly released. The fallout was immediate. Conrad's sister, Patricia, sued NBC for $105 million, later raised to $109 million, accusing the network of taking over police duties and failing to protect her brother. The case was settled in 2008 for an undisclosed amount. An unnamed Dateline producer had told Radar magazine, "One of these guys is going to go home and shoot himself in the head." They knew. They predicted it. And when asked if they'd changed their procedures, executive producer David Corvo said, "I still feel like the show is a public service. We do investigations that expose people doing things not good for them. You can't predict the unintended consequences of that." In 2008, To Catch a Predator was officially cancelled. According to Hansen, the show had simply run its course, though industry insiders pointed to advertiser discomfort following Conrad's death as the real reason. As I dug deeper into the darkest moments of television, I found many reality TV shows that went terribly wrong. It was February 4th, 2006, Manila, Philippines. Around 30,000 people had gathered outside Philsport Stadium, waiting to get inside for the first anniversary special of Wow Woo Wee, a wildly popular noontime game show that offered huge cash prizes. The show was pitched specifically toward the poorest sections of Philippine society. Host Willie Revillame openly stated he would pick places where the poor are hard up. For desperate families living on around $2 a day, the chance to win 1 million pesos, or even just a house, was life-changing. Many had been camping outside the stadium for days to secure tickets. The problem? The stadium's capacity was only 9,000 people. At around 6 a.m., organizers began handing out tickets. Then, an ABS-CBN staff member made an announcement to the crowd. Only the first 300 people in line would be chosen to participate in the Pera o Bayong segment of the show. People started pushing forward, desperate to get ahead of the queue. The crowd became agitated. When security guards tried to let people through the gates, the shoving intensified. Then one of the barriers collapsed. The gates were on a sloped driveway, and as security guards tried to seal them and calm the crowd, people continued pushing until the gates were forced open. Witnesses described being crushed against steel gates, trampled underfoot, or suffocated under piles of bodies. One survivor, Lenny Subaiko, described waking up beneath a pile of people. "Under me was a dead person. Beside me there was another dead, and there was another dead above me. At least 73 people were killed. 359 were injured. Hospitals were so overwhelmed they had to treat victims in parking lots. Even after the stampede, hundreds of people stayed in line, still hoping to attend the show. They had traveled too far, waited too long, to give up on their chance at winning." Willie Revillame initially said he wanted the show to go on, but ABS-CBN eventually postponed it. Task Force Ultra, an investigating body, found that Wow Wow Wee offered far too few tickets to a massive crowd. The announcement about only 300 slots triggered the surge. The Guinness World Records cited this incident as the greatest death toll in a game show. Bachelor number 1 stepped onto the set of The Dating Game, one of the most popular shows on television. Host Jim Lang introduced him as Rodney Alcala, a successful photographer who enjoyed skydiving and motorcycling between shoots. Handsome, charming, well-spoken. The studio audience loved him. The bachelorette that day was Cheryl Bradshaw, an aspiring actress looking for publicity. She asked the 3 bachelors a series of flirty questions. When she asked Alcala what he'd be if she was serving him for dinner, he gave some, let's say, questionable answers.
What are you called, and what do you look like?
I'm called the Banana, and I look really good.
In retrospect, it sounds horrible, but at the time, that's a good solid answer. We were looking for raunchy, sexy answers, and that was one. Bradshaw chose Alcala. The couple won tennis lessons and tickets to an amusement park. but the date never happened. After the taping, Bradshaw called the show's contestant coordinator, Ellen Metzger, and said she couldn't go out with him. "There's weird vibes that are coming off of him. He's very strange. I am not comfortable." The show's producers had no idea about Alcala's background. In 1978, the technology for background checks and national databases didn't exist, but even if it had, Alcala's record wouldn't have shown the full story. In 1968, Alcala had lured an 8-year-old girl named Tali Shapiro to his apartment, where he beat and sexually assaulted her. A witness called police, who found the girl near death. Alcala fled to New York, landing on the FBI's most wanted list. He was eventually caught and pleaded guilty to child molestation, serving less than 3 years in prison. After his release, he assaulted another girl and was sent back for just 2 more years. By 1977, despite being a registered sex offender, Alcala managed to get a job at the Los Angeles Times as a typesetter. Between 1977 and 1979, Alcala murdered at least 5 women in California. In 1979, police arrested Alcala for the murder of 12-year-old Robin Samsoe. In 2013, he pleaded guilty to killing Cornelia Crilly in 1971 and Ellen Hover in 1977. Former prosecutor Matt Murphy, who worked on the Alcala case, said it best. "What it reflects is the narcissism and the ego and the arrogance of a serial killer, that he's in the middle of a murder spree and he went on the dating game and he was selected." Sometimes the most disturbing moments on TV aren't planned spectacles or breaking news. Sometimes they're accidents that happen in the blink of an eye. Tetsushi Yanagida was a TV personality with TV Miyazaki in Japan, covering a live broadcast of a game show event. The game was simple. Contestants stood back to back in mud, trying to shove each other. Yanagida wasn't supposed to participate. He was there as a reporter, covering the event. But during the broadcast, contestants convinced him to join in. It happened so fast that most viewers didn't realize what they were seeing. He kept his balance for a few seconds, but he fell like many of the other contestants. Yanagida dove headfirst into the mud, but at a terrible angle. For several agonizing seconds, people laughed. They thought it was part of the act. Japanese TV was known for physical comedy and exaggerated reactions. But, as they will later find out, his head struck the bottom of the rice paddy and his neck snapped. He remained conscious, his head buried in the mud, unable to move. He was paralyzed instantly from a cervical spine fracture and spinal cord damage. Yanagida was airlifted to the hospital by helicopter. He survived, but with devastating consequences. Paralyzed except for limited movement in one arm, able to raise it about 30 centimeters. According to TV Miyazaki's website, Yanagida was recuperating in intensive care after the accident. What makes this moment so disturbing isn't just the injury itself. It's the context, the laughter, the fact that it was broadcast live to thousands of viewers who initially thought it was entertainment. March 22nd, 1978, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Carl Wallenda, 73 years old, stood on a wire stretched 121 feet above the pavement between the 2 towers of the Condado Plaza Hotel. He'd been performing on the high wire since he was 6 years old. He was the patriarch of the Flying Wallendas, a daredevil circus family famous for their death-defying stunts performed without safety nets. But Carl Wallenda's career was marked by tragedy. In 1962, during a performance in Detroit, the pyramid collapsed. 2 members of the troupe were killed, including Carl's son-in-law and nephew. His son Mario, was paralyzed from the waist down. His niece suffered a head injury after bouncing out of the safety net. A year later, Carl's sister-in-law fell to her death during a performance. He was in San Juan to promote a circus act he'd be performing with his granddaughter. High winds picked up as he reached the halfway point. Gusts of 30 knots whipped across the wire, which had also been improperly secured. Carl fought for his balance, teetering on the wire for 30 heart-stopping seconds. About 200 people watched from below. Then he fell. His body struck a parked taxi before hitting the pavement. He was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. The fall was captured on film by a crew from local station WAPA-TV, with narration by anchorman Guillermo José Torres. Just 38 days before Carl's death, a made-for-TV movie called The Great Wallendas aired, depicting the family's comeback after their 1962 tragedy. Carl Wallenda starred as himself. He never got to see himself in a role that wasn't on a wire.